This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Tired of losing in fantasy sports? Times are changing. Now it's just you versus the numbers. Prize Picks is the perfect place for you whether you are the biggest sports fan around or you're a seasoned vet in the daily fantasy space. On Prize Picks, you simply select 2 to 5 players and predict if they will go over or under their fantasy projection. Think Denny Hamlin is going to win the big race? Take his over and win real cash today. Prize Picks gives you the chance to win 10 times your money for getting 4 predictions correct. Entries are so simple. They can be made in less than 60 seconds. Sign up today at prizepicks.com or on the Prize Picks app and use code DIRTYAIR, that's DIRTYAIR, DIRTYAIR, to get a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. Prize Picks truly is daily fantasy simplified. Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 19 of Dirty Air, your number one podcast for all DFS gambling-related NASCAR talk. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Baumel, Gambling DFS Tips on Twitter. The two analysts, as always, Jason, DFS NASCAR on Twitter. Jason, what's up?
Hey, what's up, guys?
And Brandon Cruz DFS on Twitter. Brandon, what's up?
Howdy, everyone, once again, yet again.
So, Jason, I'm going to ask you this question because I asked this question 2 weeks ago, but it wasn't completely accurate. I asked you 2 weeks ago why Hendricks is cheating. Now I'm going to ask you how Kyle Larson is cheating because it doesn't matter where we go. He just has the fastest car every single week.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely been at a level that's, I mean, it's just been crazy to watch to see what he's been able to do. I would have never expected him to go out and dominate that the road course like he did. Like, I figured he would probably be competitive, run up in the top 3, probably maybe lead a chunk of it early. I just didn't see him to be able to put up that kind of performance where he just led the whole goddamn race. And he was able to win all the stages and still fast enough to drive up to the field and get back up to the front. Like, it's just unheard of. Like, you typically, you'll see these things shuffle out to where the guy that wins the first stage ends up starting mid-pack, but it's like nobody capitalized on Larson staying out. It was just, it was a weird race in that aspect. So, I mean, yeah, it's just, I don't think he's cheating. He just must be that good.
Brandon, what were your thoughts on it? Do you think it was a good race?
Same thoughts that Jason has in the sense of, like, Larson is that good of a driver, and it's a real shame because, for a long time I didn't like Larson just because I was annoyed by him. But imagine how, like, he literally could have been like the next great NASCAR driver if he wasn't in horrible equipment for the last 10 years and everything he's driven. Like, so it's a shame for Larson, and it's a shame that what are the odds that Larson doesn't win the championship this year? Like, I would love to put money on him not win the championship just because these last years the guy who deserves the championship hasn't won it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We saw Harvick last year just dominate. He was the man, and he didn't even make the Final Four. So, I mean, that's just the way this chase format is set up. One bad race in the chase, and you're in a winner-in situation. And we all know how the ebb and flows of seasons can go, but it's got to make you think, with like how Larson has done in this car. Like, who is out there in this field that is in that same situation Larson was in, that if they had an opportunity to race for a Gibbs or a Hendrick, like, that they could go out and put up and do what Larson's doing? Yeah,
I'm gonna bring this up is Kenny Wallace. I like Kenny Wallace. I'm a pretty big Kenny fan, and he was talking to a guy on Twitter saying that when he was filling in for, God dang it, what's his name? Steve Park in the one car, 2001, 3, 2, I don't remember what year he was filling in for, but he said that was like the fastest car he's ever driven, and it made him question like who he'd been racing for and like what has he been in the entire his whole career, if he could just hop in this car and he can just feel that it's like head and shoulders above whatever he's ever driven. And so, it's kind of, circumstantial, like Tony Stewart. Obviously he is a lot of skill, but, was he great because of what he had? Gordon, was he great because of what he had? If Martin was in a Hendrick car with Ray Evernham, would we have Mark Martin as a, 4-time champion instead of no championships? And you really look at the guys who should have been good, or who could have been good. I don't know. It just puts it all in perspective, or it makes you think. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, because that was kind of like back in the circles I used to run in back in the day. It was Gordon and Johnson. It was always like, that's what we always said. It was like, anybody can fucking win in those Hendricks cars. Like, they're just faster and ahead, and the head and shoulders amongst the field. And it's like, it seemed like, I don't know, did Hendricks fall off? Or I keep saying with an S, and I know that fucking drives people crazy. Did Hendrick fall off that dramatically over the last few years, or has it just been a talent thing? Maybe like Chase and Byron and Bowman are just not that great, and they're just subpar in this great equipment. I mean, because Hendrick's always been good. Like, did they really just get bad for 4 years, or just now they finally got a guy who can come in and do that equipment justice?
On my live show Sunday, I was talking with Jordan, and I brought up, just offhand, that I think the Gen 6 killed a lot of careers for guys who were really good in high downforce cars. They were just neutered, in this Gen 6. If you look at even Matt Kenseth, obviously, he was still a contender, in the Gen 6, but I mean, Johnson fell off a cliff, Junior fell off a cliff, Stewart fell off a cliff, Keselowski, he hasn't shown, the same way that he was driving in the old COT car, even Gordon, so I think the cars changing as well have really, hurt a lot of guys.
So I guess one of the questions I wanted to ask you, Jason, and I know Larson ended up catching a caution. I don't remember exactly how much it was, but I know he caught a caution where everyone ended up coming down and getting tires, and it helped him out. But it sounded like for the majority of the race, from his crew chief to the broadcasters, everyone was like, he's going too fast. Like, he is wearing these tires down. And it seemed like the only person not worried about these tires was Kyle Larson. Is that something, as like at some point as a crew chief, you just got to be like, you know what, like, I told him what he's got to do, but you got to trust the driver driving the car? Is that kind of at that point, or you get to a point where it's like you need to cut these lap times down?
I mean, he wasn't falling off. I mean, like, he got lucky, like you said. He caught a couple cautions that kind of helped his tire situation, where he didn't have to make that long, huge run to see that potential. I think there was a chance, like, if that would have went green towards the end, that he was going to be in trouble on his tires, I think, coming down there. And he could have risked blowing a tire or shredding something up. But, I mean, he got lucky, got a caution. I think when you're that fast and you're dominating, like, what are you going to tell the guy, I mean, it's Kyle Larson. He's been fucking winning everything. I mean, if he blows the tire, he blows the tire. Let him go after it. I mean, at this point, you're just racing for wins. He's already in.
Brandon, who was the one guy last week that you didn't have as high expectations for, you thought overperformed how they were going to do in the road course at Sonoma?
Are we talking about the race or the results?
You can talk about whatever you took out of it.
I'm convinced. We've only had 2 races this entire year that have gone green without a yellow at the end. And I'm probably going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to look back at the last probably 2 years to see what the percentages of a caution late in the race. Like, obviously we know it's high, but looking at DFS, like if you were, I guess maybe if you want to count as like a randomness in like, NBA lineups or NFL lineups or whatever, but like if you start, if whoever finds out or whoever cracks how to build lineups for late races more often than not, I think you're going to be more successful, because the only 2 races this year, the 600 and the race at Atlanta, went green in the end. Every other race in the Cup Series this year has had a caution at some point near the end of the race that have shuffled the running order. And so, this last race where you had Newman wreck on the last lap, you had Eric Almirola lose a ton of track position, you had McDowell lose a ton of track position, Anthony Alfredo. Thank Christ, thank Jesus H. Christ that the scoring was not live on DraftKings, because I don't want to know how much money people lost in those last laps, because you had LaJoie up front, you had Alfredo up front, Newman, Eric Almirola, and other guys. I can't think right now, but all those guys would have been optimal, and they would have changed the lineups. Like, that's crazy. And in the Xfinity Series as well. Like, everything changed on the last 2 laps of both races. And so I guess before that, I was happy to see Eric Almirola run well for once. We know it's going to happen. I was just happy to see him, I was like, oh, hey, he hasn't been bad this year. He's just had bad luck the entire season. Hopefully he can at least finish a race. And obviously he did not finish that well.
So,
yeah,
Jason,
it's kind of crazy, like how these, like how you're saying is like just how much these races just change in the last couple laps to where what is supposed to be optimal just is not, and it's like everything you pick could be right, and it's just all ruined. And I think what I think it should be shining on everybody is like, this is why you have to make some stands on the chalk that you're not going to play. You just have to be guys that everybody's going to play, that you just got to come off of, because there's that chance that it's going to get crazy on the end. And sometimes it's about who you don't have in your lineup that saves your day. For example, this past week, I didn't obviously I liked McDowell as a great play, but I just didn't land on him. And I liked Christopher Bell as a great play this week, but I made one lineup and I ended up just going different and getting off the Bell Chastain chalk and going more like three high and three low guys, And I think when you're off of guys like that, like I didn't have any Chastain either, but just not having the Bell and the McDowell bust still got me to able to cash in all my games, with just not having, like I said, the Bell or the McDowell chalk that busted, even missing on a guy who put up so many points like Ross Chastain.
Yeah, I didn't like the slate, so I only played one line, and I wanted to play Bubba a lot, and luckily I didn't get to him because I just didn't like the lineups. I ended up playing Suarez, and I ended up playing Eric Almirola and Ryan Newman because I figured nobody would play Eric Almirola. And if his ownership keeps being low, because this is the first time I played Eric Almirola this whole year. Like, everybody was like, Brandon, he sucks. He's lost us a lot of money. Why are you playing him again? It's like, I haven't played him. This is the first race I liked Eric Almirola in. And his low ownership was like alarming. Like, people like, it's been a long time since I've seen NASCAR have a driver who has tilted so many people to where they're purposely not playing him in good spots. Like, that was shocking. Same thing with Newman. So those are the two guys I went with, and they just happened to be the guys who both, finished,
right, yeah,
29th and 28th. But I mean, that's where I went on DraftKings.
I ended up with my bottom three were Alfredo, Priest, and Briscoe. So I was looking really great at one point, right? And I had Chase. My top was Chase, Kurt Busch, and Truex. So obviously I missed on Larson, but Chase ran good enough, right? Man, like you said, I'm glad we didn't see what live scoring would look like. 'Cause there was one point where I was probably sitting pretty good there before the Alfredo incident, and that was a shame.
Yeah, you were probably like me with Brett Moffitt right before the race.
Oh, God.
Right before the last restart at Xfinity,
brutal.
when I was tied for first in about every contest.
Yeah, I didn't have any Moffitt, but I felt for everybody who probably had him, because oh my God, that is brutal.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, that's fucking NASCAR, and
that's how it is, man. Shit breaks.
I keep saying, it's all about, you got to be in position in those last couple laps. If you're in position, eventually it's going to shake out, and you're going to fucking come home with that big score. But you just got to keep being there. It's hard to do. It's hard to do. It's hard to win these tournaments. I mean, it really is.
I think that's probably the 7th time this year that I've been doing extremely well with a few laps left, and it's really frustrating, but it's also, I haven't been that close this many times in a single season, and so I hate to say it, because obviously I haven't won a ton. Only Atlanta was the only one, but knowing that hey, I've been this close, I just need the guys to not kill each other at the end of the race. I'm very happy with that. But I mean, man, this has been a brutal year. That's why I needed to look at late race cautions and the average, and try and pinpoint when it's most likely to happen in a race. Because I know you have Larry Max trends of the race, but
right.
if I look at the whole schedule and determine what point in the races are we more likely to see yellow, I'll try and build lineups to try and aim for the guys who are going to be in potential to do better due to a late race restart.
So Jason, one of the guys that we had talked about a little bit, Anthony Alfredo, he kind of did exactly what you had said a guy like a Ryan Priest could potentially do, in terms of catching some sort of a caution or being, towards the front of the pack, getting that caution, and then staying up front. Obviously, Alfredo got spun on that last lap, and he didn't do it. But I think that's also an interesting strategy of these road courses going forward. Is some of these guys that are in maybe not as great of equipment, but there's some decent road course drivers, if they get put in a position where it's top 10, we saw Alfredo, he hung in the top 10 once he got put up there until he got spun.
Yeah, I think that's was one of the reasons I liked Alfredo going into this week is, he's cheap, 5,800, and he's starting towards the back, and he's a guy who, like you said, who with way we see road courses play out, strategy becomes big, and if somebody who shouldn't get the track position good, he got very lucky. He was a terrible player probably most of the slate, got very lucky, caught that caution, but then he was able to run and maintain top 10, top 11. So yeah, it just sucked the way it ended up. But yeah, that's definitely something you like to look for on these road courses is you get a guy cheap starting towards the back who you know is a decent road course racer, because I think we saw he finished 18th and 22nd in the first 2 races this season. So he definitely showed the ability to run top 20 and would have had a great day.
Brandon, as somebody who on this podcast last week suggested playing certain back markers, even Mr. Heckert, it seemed like a pretty decent day for the back markers, at least if you were trying to play most of them, you kind of got at what you wanted out of them, right?
Dude, Cody Ware, I love him, man. I love him. I mean, you could tell he just didn't care that Priest, like, obviously he the right front of his suspension was torn up, but I just loved how he just stayed in it to take Priest back out. Like,
was that a Cody Ware issue or a Ryan Priest issue? That a Ryan Priest issue?
That was Priest. It was all Priest, but
still the Ware did hold into it to get him back a little more. And that's I think what's hilarious. Yeah, like
that's what I was watching. I was like, this ain't the pinnacle of motorsports anymore. Like, this year has really just cemented. I know I sound like a broken record, but what is this, man? You don't see F1 doing this. You don't see other series. Can't think of anybody else right off the top of my head, but like,
it's just silly to have guys out there who just fucking can't keep speed. Like, why? Like, why are we wasting 4 or 5 spots in this field for guys who are 8, 9, 10, 12 laps down? Like, what is that doing for the sport? Who does that help? That helps no one. I mean, I guess it's good for the owners of those cars, and the drivers are getting out there and getting to drive fast, in their opinion. But I mean, God, it's terrible for the sport. Like,
so what's the fix? Is the fix raising minimum speed?
The fix is just fucking getting them out, buying out Rick Ware, and getting fucking say Junior come in here and get 2 cars. Denny Hamlin, you get Jordan, you get a car. Be like Oprah Winfrey and just start fucking giving out charters, and let's go. Let's get. I mean, that's the easy fix.
Yeah. Anything else from last week you guys want to go over before we get into this very simple race we have this week?
I can't think of anything. Sonoma was, I don't know, I don't know if entertain was the word, but it had more action than I thought it would.
Yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, I like going back to, Sonoma and Watkins Glen. That was the road course races. So going back to Sonoma felt good. It was totally different than, Coda. I don't have no memories of Coda, but you got, like I said, Sonoma, you got memories of that place. You got that turn 11 where you've seen a lot of great highlights and a lot of great actions happen, and you knew there was going to be chaos in that quarter in this race, and we saw it. I mean, it's good. Like, I think Sonoma and Watkins Glen, those were two perfect road courses for the Cup Series. And like I said, I guess Roval now kind of has some memories, but it's just nice going. Like I said, 2 years since we've been to Sonoma, so it was definitely good getting back there.
What is with NASCAR drivers just driving off the road course? Like,
what happened with Chastain? Like, how do they let that go? How is that not a penalty?
Yeah, like man.
I thought for sure my Chastain fade on my lineup was about to get golden, because I thought for sure he was getting black flag. Like, how is that not?
Yet again, I distinctly remember, like, 8 years ago, and it's happened twice to Biffle. Biffle came to a stop to avoid a wreck, and they said, "Nah, Biffle, you're going EOL. You were a part of that because you came to a stop." Chastain spun around, stopped, got passed by people. They gave his position back.
Well, no, he passed everybody back, cutting the track, and they gave him where he came back in. You got to run the full course of the track. That's in the fucking rules. Like, how is that not cutting the track? You're telling me, like, they were getting him for, like, 4 wheels off over here on this one fucking road course, but you can miss a turn completely, cut up when the caution flag's out, full speed, and pass 6 cars and get your position back, and there's no penalty? I mean, he got back a 6th, I think, in that, or 9th, or something stupid.
Yeah,
and he ended up finishing 6th. Because I told people to play Chastain, so I didn't want to see it for my followers for him too, but I didn't have him, so it would have been good for my pocketbook.
That's like in baseball, if, like, the second baseman's in your way, and you're just like, you know what, I'm just gonna dart right across the diamond right here because this guy's in my way, and I'm gonna get to third base by the way of skipping second base because that's I mean when you look at this stuff, it's like even to like me, like the casual fan who's watching this race, it's like there's a difference between kind of getting pushed off the course or going off the course for a second and coming back on the course versus just like running half of the course. I mean, the Chastain thing, it's like what was did NASCAR even give an explanation for like why he could pass half the cars on what wasn't considered the track?
Not that
was there any explanation, or it was just like we didn't see anything?
Talk about it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's weird. And another thing, why are teams making so many mistakes of like pitting or not understanding the rules? Like I assume we can't understand the rules because we're peasants and we aren't involved in NASCAR, but something is wrong.
And because we don't have billions of dollars riding on the line.
Yeah, but like something is wrong when you have almost half the field not knowing what is going on during the race.
It's gonna be imagine this week coming up. I mean,
yeah. So going back to that, what was the thing? I mean, pit road always closes when the leader gets 2 laps to go, right? Yeah. So why was everybody confused when that?
That's
was
what I mean. Like, what
I do that. What? Like there are rules that I don't know. That's a rule I know. Even just
this is fucking Hendrick, the best team in the sport right now who made that mistake, right?
Because that's what it was. I think it was Larson's team, right? Wasn't it Larson's team that was planning on coming?
Larson and Chase, yeah.
Like I don't know why they said pit road's closed. It's like, well, because it's been the same rule we've had every week for the past 20 years, whatever. Whatever. All right.
And then the Xfinity race, what fucking dinger can't sit on pit road long enough?
Yeah.
Like your pit stop.
Isn't that like how is that? If that's the penalty, how is there not like a NASCAR official that's standing there being like, okay, now go? Like that's such a simple fix.
Well, they used to have NASCAR officials in every crew in every box, but they did away with that now for all these sensors. But yeah, they should. I mean, like a light, something.
Or they're like, oh, every team has somebody on a stopwatch. How are you 10 seconds off on the stopwatch? Like it wasn't like Haley where he was half a second over and he was good. I mean, this is like you were way too quick.
It's like one of those. It's like one of those where you try and time it and you like forget to hit the timer when you're supposed to. So you hit the timer and you're like, you know what? It started like 8 seconds ago, even though it started like a second ago, and all of a sudden you're all out of whack. It's just that. And that's what NASCAR. We've got these guys running cars worth millions and millions of dollars, and we've got a guy sitting on pit box with a fucking stopwatch.
But I mean, about that though, like, I'm sorry, but if you're going to do this to where we don't want the teams to travel and save money, so we're gonna do this modified pit stops. Why not just stop the fucking race and just let them pit and do it and then go back out? Like, why do we have to do this whole charade of, well, you got to come down and do fuel and then tires and then, but if you pit on green, you got to wait. It's like, just fucking stop the race, let them all pit, change tires, fill up, and go back out and finish the race. And I mean, modified pit stops that way, and it's not confusing.
I think NASCAR is giving the teams too much credit by saying, like, you know what, we're going to take the strategy away from you guys. Like, you're not going to be allowed to do this by doing this. But the teams don't even know their own strategy.
I think
they don't even know when they're allowed
to leave some aspect of strategy in it is what I think they're trying to do. But
I think the teams overthink it so much that what you think is no longer strategy is actually strategy because teams are overthinking everything.
I don't agree, because if NASCAR did not want there to be strategy, they would just stop the race, let everybody pit. You can't pit until then, and then you go back out. No strategy. They obviously want there to be some level of strategy, NASCAR does, for them to have this. You got to do this side, only tires, only fuel. They're creating it for there's some strategy drama in the race, and it's just.
But isn't that almost like you're manufacturing some sort of strategy, but you're also taking a bunch of So you're taking more away than you're manufacturing. I'd feel like.
I don't know. It's probably capped a little bit, but I think it's still made it much more confusing.
All right.
Hold on. Brandon's waiting. Yeah.
I got one more thing.
You said confusing, and that was the perfect segue.
Yeah. I didn't want to bring it up. I'm trying to not bring up conspiracy theories. I'm trying to back that down. As many as I see.
Nothing to talk about. Let's get down to the conspiracy theory, Trey.
When AJ got put to the back, I was like, he has the best car. He's going to drive up to fourth if this race stays green. And so when Alex was like, oh, I think that's a bit high. I don't think Alexander, when he was like, oh, I think he's being a little too optimistic. I was like, AJ has the best car in the field. And part of me thinks, colleague knew that they'd have the best cars there. I don't think they said anything over the radio, but I think Jeb kind of knew the situation they were in, and I really think Jeb purposely brought that yellow out because he threw it into the gravel trap the way that you don't throw it into a gravel trap if you actually miss it, because he was able to get out under his own power.
I didn't think about that, but now that you mention it, yeah, looking back on it, he did just kind of fucking overdrive out of the corner that he had been racing on the entire goddamn race.
Yeah, and it's not like he he missed the. I mean, he locked those tires up way early. Like, when it happened, I was like, come on, really, colleague cars are bringing out the yellow.
That's funny. Yeah, that did not even cross my mind. That's hilarious. That's funny that you bring that up, but it helped. I mean, Dinger should have won that race, and he did. So.
Did I saw that. I was just like, oh my god, it's happening all over again.
All right. Well, and was it confusing? Come on, we got to end on confusing to give him his segue.
Excuse me, I can create my own segues over here. You've got a phenomenal host that can do a job, but when his co-host or one of his analysts leads him down the right path, I like to give credit where credit's due. So, anything else before we get on to this week's race?
I think we're good, right? I think we.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's get into this week. We are at the it's the All-Star race. Is that the official title? I don't even know if there's a sponsor. I'm assuming there is. The All-Star race at Texas. So it is 100 laps split into 6 rounds because we want to call them rounds, not
because you can divide 100 by 6.
That was literally my first question. Like, who do you think saw? Well, let's run this for 100 and let's make it 6 rounds. Like what? Like that's just like that. If you want to know if you're like, what do I need to know about NASCAR? They run a race with 100 laps and they divide it into 6. That's what you need to know about NASCAR.
Can we call it the Winston just for old time's sakes?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do that.
The Winston.
The Winston. That's what it used to be called back in the day, right?
He's looking at us like we're crazy. The Winston. What is that?
No, the Winston Cup.
No, it was the Winston. It was the All-Star.
I know, but I remember it from the Winston.
The Winston
Cup.
Open, and then.
Back before they were like, what we shouldn't have. Wasn't that like a thing? Like they didn't want to be sponsored by like a tobacco company or something?
Well, that's why there's no Winston Cup anymore. Yeah.
But it was like not like a money thing from like Winston. It was like a PR thing, right?
Well, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, they had to separate it themselves. That's when NASCAR died.
Yeah. Died with Dale, and Winston was like, okay, we got nobody to sponsor, man.
You set him up for that too perfectly.
Fun story. IndyCar turned down Winston. They wanted to sponsor IndyCar. Those morons said, no, we want a high-class sponsor, so they took the money to NASCAR. That's why we got the Winston Cup Series.
Huh.
Otherwise, we would have the IndyCar Series. That would have been better, but all the money went to NASCAR because IndyCar said no.
I wish I like not having no title sponsor. Like I like it just being the Cup Series. Like because it just the fact that it's changed so much the last 10 years, it's just been terrible. But I'm sorry. Let's get back on track.
There's with a race like this week, there is no track to stay on. All right, so I'll read kind of what how it's going. You guys kind of explain the format of the race, and then we'll get into some sort of strategy, unless you guys want to do it a different way.
Well, let's talk about the package first, right?
Okay.
This is
So, go ahead.
510 horsepower. They took off even more horsepower off these cars. High fucking downforce. They're going to be wide open. NASCAR is doing everything they possibly can to make this run like a super speedway on a mile and a half.
So to a casual fan, explain to them, what does that mean? What is the difference between low downforce, high horsepower, low horsepower?
Well, it just means when you slow down the cars and you make them tighter to the track, it's just going to make the pack closer together, especially when you're making these short segments like what you're about to go through, what we talked about. It's creating all these restarts. Everybody's always going to be bunched up. Then they're going to probably stay bunched up for about 6 or 7 laps before they really start spreading out. But then,
there's a yellow right at that point where they would spread out.
Right. So, I mean, this is like manufactured to try to be a super speedway race on a mile and a half. Like, they want to just keep bunching them back up, slow them down, get them back in the pack. Like, that's what this is. So expect this to be it's going to be a chaos. Bunch of restarts, it's just going to be, I think it's going to be chaos.
Do you really think so? I I'm on the other end of that. Like, I don't think it's going to change much of anything. I think they're still going to be bunched up for like 2 or 3, maybe 4 laps after, but it's still a one groove racetrack, and I think they get spread out. Like, I don't think it's going to.
Charlotte, when they did this, right? I mean, it looked. I mean, they were in a pack for
For
4 or 5 laps.
And then they all spread out. Like,
well, that's why aren't they like they shrink these. I've never seen the stages so short, 15 laps. They just want to keep fucking restarting, dude. Like they want them to be packed up together. So I mean, and then the last, like you can't tell me this is not gonna be chaos. I mean,
I would
6
love
restarts,
it
6 manufactured restarts, Brandon.
And then with all the inverters,
so
so DFS wise, let me just say right now, I'm playing it very heavy place differential. I'm probably gonna have a ton of Ryan Blaney, a ton of Denny Hamlin, ton of Alex Bowman, ton of Kevin Harvick and Kurt Busch. And I might play like 1 or 2 lineups. I'm gonna spend a majority of my week caring about the Xfinity and Truck Series, but the Cup race, I mean, that's just how I'm approaching it. With all the inverts and everybody changing positions so much, that's just what I would do for DFS wise. I don't really have much to add past that. Like honestly, like my advice is to not play a ton of money or just skip this entirely. Like this is worse than I.
The thing about the chaos aspect of it is I didn't even mention the fact that they're inverting the fucking field 4 times. So I mean, yeah, they're just trying just to get this as jumbled and as insane and as much of a spectacle as it possibly can be. And I think it might be worse than what we saw at Bristol as far as how we expected Bristol to be a shit show. And I think there's a good chance that this is going to be a shit show that nobody's really expecting it to be as bad as it's going to be. I think there may be 8 cars left at the end of this.
So before we get into a little bit more of how we're going to play it, Brandon, in terms of building the car for this week, so obviously we talked about how the package changes it. Teams build cars for the short run, for the long run. This isn't going to be, this is going to be a different kind of car because there's no long run kind of speed you need, right? You're building this basically just as a short run car because, like Jason said, there are 6 different times basically restarting the field. This is a completely different car. Not even just, talking about the package itself, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the only thing they're doing is just changing the tapered spacer on the not the carburetor, but wherever the temper spacer go. I just went blank, but that's pretty much all they're changing. And so it's not like they're having to rebuild motors entirely. They're just changing one or 2 things to lower the horsepower. So I think what you're referring to is the changes made for the speedway cars regarding, another bar being added behind the drivers for Daytona and Talladega. Because I don't think they're doing it.
Okay, I would say I or even just when you're coming to pit road and making any kind of adjustments or whatever, there's there's basically hey, I don't know exactly, but there's instances where hey, he's got the best short run car, but we can get a better long run car. Let's adjust this and make sure we can get this 40-50 laps down. That's none of that matters here. This is give me speed for 15 laps and keep it going, right?
Yeah, man, taper solid.
Can we go through the rules of when can they pit? Can we go through the rules and find out when they pit and what they can take? Because I don't know. It could be you can only take your back left rear tire on lap 3, but you got to come down and sit for 2 laps starting on lap 1. Who the fuck knows what they're
All right, so only if the North Star and the Moon are parallel at 11:50 p.m. local time.
Spotters got to use a telescope. First one to see certain constellation gets inverted back to last place. All right, so round 1, 15 laps. So it says, after this round, the field will be inverted starting anywhere from the 8th through the 12th positions to be selected by a random draw.
Nothing to mention of pit stops.
No. The only one it mentions on pit stops is on the round 5, where we've got a pit stop competition.
A pit stop competition?
Yeah, for the pole.
No, for $100,000 for the fastest pit crew.
Oh my God!
I forgot. Look,
it's gonna be a spectacle to watch them pit. They're gonna do it all one at a time and time them, and we're gonna have to watch this shit.
This is like if the NBA tried to put their All-Star game, a slam dunk contest, and a 3-point contest all into one. We're just gonna do all of it together. That's what they're trying to do. So all right, so round 2, 15 laps with entire field inverted after this segment. So good. Round 2, you run well, good. Go to the back of the pack.
So position 23 gets to the first. So. I mean, it's going to be obviously, so whoever dominates that first stage is not going to get any laps led maybe in the. Who knows what fast laps are gonna be like? Do you think fast laps are gonna be dominated or is it gonna be spread out?
It's gonna be spread out. It's gotta be spread out.
Yeah.
If
any off throttle time is gonna fucking kill you for 2 laps probably, right?
yeah, so like the best chance for probably fast laps is the car either third or fourth on the inside lane until they get spread out, and then the caution comes out and those guys get inverted. That's why I already see people saying that they're going to try and play a lot of Larson this week.
Yeah, I see
and
that.
I'm probably going to just stick with place differential. Like I'm not going to take the risk of just play the guys in the front.
That's my thought as well. Like, I mean, there's not going to be enough. I don't think there's going to be enough dominator points to be really accumulated in this race. Like, if you think about it, if you win the first stage, you may lead 10 to 15 laps. Let's say you lead them all, get 15 laps, then you get inverted. You ain't going to maybe sniff the front again until the third stage. It's just going to be hard, I think, for anybody to rack up down points. And it seems like the position differential is going to be where the points are going to be scored. And so that's going to be where you're not going to lose points. Because, like I said, this is going to be a shit show. People are going to wreck. It's going to be just like a super speedway, in my opinion. The lower amount of points you lose is going to help you. And it may be a cash week. But like I said, it's just going to be a light week for me as well.
Yeah, and it's disgusting. Like, it's like if you took the Pro Bowl, but you handicapped teams up until the final 4 minutes of the fourth quarter, you know?
I mean, from a DFS standpoint, though, this sucks, right? But I mean, I don't know. But from sitting down on my couch watching it, it'd probably be all right. Like, I'm sure I'll enjoy it. I'm sure it'll be fun. I mean, we'll get to see some crashes. You know, we love to watch some crashes.
I love my crashes. Yeah, give me my crashes. I'll be
sure
here.
We'll see some close racing. We'll see some near misses. We'll see some passes for the lead. Probably. I think it'll definitely be better than the Bristol All-Star race.
Yeah, I think so.
So all right, hold on, let's just finish. Let me just. I just want to finish going through the race.
I'm talking here, driver.
So, round 3 is exactly the same as round 1. Round 4 is 15 laps, and round 5 is just what I want to go over. That was what we were talking about with the mandatory pit stop. So this is maybe where there can be some sort of strategy or lack thereof. So round 5, this round will be determined by the cumulative finish from the first 4 rounds, with the best cumulative finisher starting from the pole. So I guess it's your average of your first 4, the first 4 where you finish in them, your average.
You get points where you finish at, right?
Correct.
Whoever has the most points, that's where you start at in the stage 5, which is the 30-lap stage.
Get this, though, because when you can make it confusing, let's make it confusing. And then we get even more confusing. Any ties in the aggregate score, so it's not necessarily points, it's like an average. So like if there's 3 of them and 2 guys are both finishing with a second place average, that is a tie, and we are going to break that tie in order of most career All-Star wins. That's tiebreaker number 1. Most career Cup Series point race wins. That's tiebreaker number 2. And if we're still tied, 2021 Cup Series driver standings. That's what we're going to do.
It should be the standings first, I would think.
No, man. No,
it's the All-Star race. It's course history. How have you done at the All-Star race that we've never ran here?
If you've only done 3 years in the Cup Series, I'm sorry, you should have won one of them All-Star races here.
Should have won 3, really.
Yeah.
So now we've put the cars in position. So since we're going to put them in position based on how they finish, we're going to get them out of position by making every single car come down pit road. It's a mandatory 4-tire pit stop, and this is where the $100,000.
When is this?
This is round 5. This is round
still
5.
in. We're still in. Is this before round 5 starts or in the middle of round 5?
Before.
Okay, so they do the swap. They do we're going to set the field up like this. Now we're getting everybody down pit road.
It sounds like they're going to set the field up, then bring them down pit road, have this competition, and then get them off. I don't know if it's going to be in the order they get off pit road.
Brandon, will you call Pockris, please? Bob Pockris. Get him on the fucking phone.
I can't. I feel so bad for him this week. Can you imagine the amount of tweets he has to answer? And, oh, man, this is like...
You know what's funny? He always, like... When he goes does different things, like he's always got to answer different things. Like this, he could just have like a recorded message because everyone's going to ask him the same question. He just have a recorded message on how this week's going to work and just play it and be like, you know what? You don't even need Bob on the line. Here's my message. Like just play that because I mean it's literally like this is when we talk about how drivers and teams don't understand like when pit road closes. You think they're going to understand this? Like there's no chance. This is going to be one of those we're just going to hope NASCAR's doing what they say they're doing and just put the cars in order, and then we get to round 6 where it's 10 laps and it's
okay. No, hold on. We round 5 still. So they set them up, then they come down pit road, then they pit, and where you come off pit road is where you start.
So it doesn't say if
They're
they're
just pitting
resetting
for
the
the
field.
100,000.
Correct. It sounds like they're probably going to pit for the 100,000, but
So
then
they keep their spots.
right. But then that would be almost like because round 5's 30 laps, so it is.
So
the one
you're
with the
telling me
longest
this pit stop that these guys they could win $100,000 on means absolutely nothing to the starting order of the sixth.
That's why I thought it was. I could have sworn I read it for the poll, but it is. Yeah, it's just the fastest pit crew. So I'm glad they're just helping the richer get richer when Denny Hamlin's crew wins that.
So then we win 30
maybe
laps, right?
it does almost read like they're gonna set the field, they're gonna bring them down pit road, they're gonna do it, and then they're gonna reset the field how it was before they came down pit road. But then there's got to be like restrictions because, like I said, this is 30 laps. Like if you're like, hey, I'm not winning the 100,000, it's like, all right, let's make a couple adjustments. We're gonna still be in third place and let's get back out there. Like you said, like 100,000 to like a Denny Hamlin's crew is like, right? Isn't that like open it add up for like a little bit of weirdness, or is 30 laps not enough to try and make adjustments to change a car?
Or if you got to fix body damage or something.
I can just see like
you get to go out and pit your wrecked car. Like So if you wreck early in this race, like are you going to stay out there driving that wrecked car so that way you can pit and give your crew a chance at 100K? Or are they going to be able to let them get a backup car?
I can see Cody Ware come down pit road with a busted
Cody Ware ain't going to be in it. Yeah. So.
Well, what I would do is
you never know.
If you're torn up there, come down pit road right before that other stage ends. Only put 3 lug nuts on each wheel, and then they come down, so your crew doesn't have to take as many lug nuts off.
Like a 9-second pit stop. Jesus.
It's like, oh my God, you only have one lug nut holding the tire on.
He doesn't even use a gun. He just one thing comes off, just pulls the tire off with his hand. He's like, that was easy.
So the NASCAR wants to really emphasize how important pit stops are, but then they went and put one fucking lug on the car next year.
This sounds like this is the last chance we can do this, so let's do this.
What?
All right, so let's get into a little bit of the strategy of the race, which there's not much of, at least from a DFS standpoint, because at the end, round 6, 10 laps, cars line up to their finishing position from the previous round and you race it out. So round 5, however you finish, that's how you start. Round 6, 10 laps.
Before that?
It doesn't say that
whatever tires. They're just bunching them back up and they're going just where they're at.
Yeah, it sounds like you have the option to pit if you want. It's like at the end of a stage. If you want to pit, you can. If not, stay out and you got 10 laps.
I guess then there's opportunity maybe for somebody leading some laps there in that last 40-lap stretch and kind of racking up some dominator points, but I don't know if it's enough. I still think it's going to – I don't know. I still think it's going to be a lot.
But the only way to figure out who's going to be getting those dominator points is to figure out who's going to be at the top,
I would think
but also has the most career all-star wins.
No, I would think like if you're approaching this right as I'm really going to look into the data and try to figure this race out, and the best cars are going to be up front, then you're going to fucking play Hendrick, right? You're going to play the Hendrick cars. They've been the best in a mile and a half, so I'd expect them to be good here. So you would play them because they're going to be fast. And then from there, who knows?
So how many total cars is in the final? Is it 23?
I think it's 23 because it's 19 to start, and then then there's 3 from the Open, the Winston Open.
17 are locked in, and then we have
3 from the Winston Open, and then the fan vote.
Okay, yeah, so 21.
So right. 17. Are we playing the play-in guys probably?
Yeah. I mean, I'd cut the pull off at Kevin Harvick, honestly.
Yeah.
So it's Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch, Newman, Bowman, Hamlin.
Fine, just playing all 6 guys in the back, probably starting from 21st on up, and then just throwing them in a cash lineup and being done.
This is one of my favorite things from the NASCAR article, though, is the GM of Texas Motor Speedway. He said he wants to give a little Wild West into the pre-race ceremonies and whatever, and when they asked him to describe it, this is an exact quote. He said, "This is a full metal rodeo for a big old bag of dough." I mean, that's if you're trying to describe. Are you gonna
insult my Texans?
No, I'm giving you a compliment. I'm saying if you're gonna
shit on Sammy Hagar too, and I was gonna have to yell at you through here.
If you're gonna explain what this race is, that's how you explain it. It's gonna be a big fun shit show, and at the end, someone's gonna win a big old bag of dough. I think he described it perfectly. I was trying to give him a compliment.
Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna see. I mean, it should be entertaining. I hope. I just hope it's not like. We just all typically like the All-Star race like is where they go down a dark path to where if something goes good, they may like I would just hate to see them think that maybe 500, maybe we need to slow them down even further, maybe 510 horsepower is the way to go because they still haven't set the horsepower I don't think yet for next year's car, have they? Like they still have not released that, so they can make it anything they want still.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So, I don't even know what to ask from like a DFS standpoint. I think you guys pretty much covered it. Is we're just looking to play place differential. I mean, you're basically playing like a super speedway, right?
Honestly, I'm okay, my article is not gonna. It's gonna probably explain the rules, and it's probably just gonna say like if you're smart and really looking at this from the best strategy standpoint, it's gonna play the guys in the back. But I think really just play light, have some fun, pick guys you fucking like to root for or something. There's no predicting how this race is gonna go out. Just play it very light. You're not. I mean, this isn't the week to blow your bankroll. Just have fun with it. Play the guys you like to root for. If you're a Kyle Larson fan, and I play him. I don't care. I think there's really. It's hard to say what the right approach is going to be this week. I don't think anybody really knows.
Brandon? What driver has the best chance to win this race? That's not one of the 17 already locked in.
Man, you need all those 17 cars to wreck for whoever for that guy to win.
I've seen Michael Waltrip win the All-Star race after winning the Open, so anything's possible.
Well, we saw McMurray.
Yeah.
So Newman's in because he won a previous All-Star race. When was that? Because I don't remember that. That must have been a while ago, right?
Newman used to be the shit, dude.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying, though.
Man.
His All-Star race must have been.
It was early in his career, I believe, right?
No, it was Stuart Haas. It was 39. Pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it was. Probably Bubba.
That could still been 10 years ago.
Remember last year, Bubba's locked in and he wrecks. McDowell took him out.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
that was
dude.
funny. Yeah,
that was hilarious.
So let me rephrase that question then. Out of the 17 drivers that aren't locked in, which would you be potentially looking to play? Based on potential speeds?
Bubba Wallace. Actually, no, that's right. Bubba Wallace is winning the All-Star vote. He's not going to race his way in. He's starting DFL. Bubba Wallace week again.
I think Ricky Stenhouse could be a guy who.
How about a guy like Chris Buescher, who we've seen have some speed on 1.5 mile tracks if he gets in?
Like I said, I think anybody. I don't think there's anybody back there that would be a bad play who makes their way in because it's going to be a shit show. If I think 8 cars are going to finish this race, and I think obviously the guy starting dead last will have the most upside in this race. I mean, point blank. So I don't think anybody's going to put up more than 20 dominator points in this race. So if that doesn't happen, then the guy starting DFL is going to have 20 position differential points is his upside. I mean, granted, a lot of shit has to happen, but who knows anybody can win this race. I think I did see like Logano was coming in like plus 1600 at the start of this week. That looked like a pretty high number for Logano. And I mean, it's hard to predict who's going to win this, but I think it's going to probably be a big name.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there.
All right. So is there anything else we can go over for this week with either the format, the package, DFS, from any other thoughts or anything we didn't go over for this week?
I don't think so. Just just play it light, guys. Don't rack your brains over this too hard. I'm already seeing people maybe overthinking this race, and it's considered an off week where you're playing a little DFS.
Yeah, I have absolutely no interest in this race at all for financial purposes. I'm sure I'll throw 1 or 2 lineups in the 15 and call it a day on Sunday. Because
do we know when DraftKings do they lock after the opens or they lock before the opens?
That's after.
But that's another thing. So obviously we don't have the contest up right now. I could be wrong because this might be before my time, but I could have sworn the first year on DraftKings they had a slate for the Open as well.
They did.
They did? Yeah. So, and this Open is early enough. Obviously, we're recording this Wednesday evening right now, 9:50 Eastern time, and so we don't have any pricing or any other contests out. But we might get another slate for the Open, just because the main GPP right now, the 15, is pretty small.
See, I think though, I think they did run it the first year, but I don't think they've ran it since, because I think the issue they ran into with is, oh great, we have cars being pulled out of this race who aren't finishing because they won the first segment, so now they're not getting points, and I think that kind of was a kind of like a hard workaround. At least I don't think we've seen it, because I know last year I think they had all the Open drivers were in the pool, and they were just all had the Q next to them, and then once the race was finalized, they had the O on them, and you had, I think, 20 minutes or so to at least get your lineups locked in.
Yeah, I don't know. I got better things to do with my time.
Yeah, I don't anticipate there being an Open, and even if there was, I think it'd be a lot of the same strategy by the guys in the back.
All right. Well, before we get into just some general NASCAR talk or any of that, we're not going to do a two and done for this week because there's no points, different styles. So I think we'll just take this week off. But we can go over last week. So last week, Jason, you had Michael McDowell, who obviously was in a great position until he got spun on the end. Ended up with 9 points. Brandon, you had Bubba Wallace, which in some weird turn of fashion, he had 23 points. He had the number that he drove and had a decent day. And
absolute wild swing. He should have been dead last.
He was a lap down, wasn't he?
He was. Yeah, he was. He should have finished dead last.
Imagine 20 laps into the race. Jason's got McDowell, Brandon's got Bubba Wallace, and then at the end of the race, it's completely flipped.
Well, how do you think I felt for pretty much the whole live show? I was like, I gotta play Bubba in my one lineup. I gotta play Bubba in my one lineup. Gotta play. I mean, that was the whole thing. I was like, I'm gonna play Bubba because he's low owned, and if stupid shit happens, I trust Bubba more than Suarez. And I end up going Suarez, and then Bubba's a lap down on lap 7, and I'm like, oh my god.
And then I played Denny Hamlin, who had 31 points. Decent, but obviously not kind of the day you expected to play out of Denny Hamlin. So, all right, total points on the season. Jason is in first place still, 570 points. I'm in second place still with 536, and Brandon, you are in third with 528. So we are
closed the gap. He's
tightly
in a hurry.
Yeah, because when you guys made fun of me all the weeks when I had to play guys like Chris Buescher and Chase Briscoe.
Okay, first off, you didn't have to play anybody. You chose to play those guys, okay?
Well, you got to play somebody in that range, like you did with Mike McDowell.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is I think, you don't have to burn that many picks, right? I mean, if you think about it, because we know we have 4 super speedway races, right? So that is 4 guys there you can use that you typically
I've done the math. I know who I'm picking the rest
road
of the
courses.
Year. Still some.
There's 7 road courses. You don't have to. You can get away with other guys that you typically wouldn't pick in the other races on road courses. So that's another 7. So that's 9 races off the 36. So you only really need to pick 7 different guys probably on the top, probably aside from those.
Yeah, and I mean, and all the guys.
Maybe that math is probably way fucking wrong.
No, you're not. Even the guys we picked, they're all. It's not, outside of the super speedways, we haven't really picked anybody. I mean, when you picking guys like McDowell or me picking Buescher and Stenhouse or even Bubba, it's these aren't back of the pack guys. These are guys that have some sort of upside. Have shown speed at certain points. So yeah, that's where we stand right now. I guess we can finish this off. Is there any general NASCAR talk, trucks, Xfinity, anything that kind of came up over the past week, or anything we want to go over before we finish this puppy off?
No.
I'm kind of happy we're done with Fox, but then the second nightmare continues with the NBC booth. That raises a good question. Do you think NBC is smart enough to look at some of the backlash Fox has gotten and try and make it better? Jason, I see you are very optimistic NBC is going to do the right thing, right?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't think they're going to do anything just because fucking Fox is do you think they're watching Fox and being like, oh, this is terrible? They're probably watching Fox and this is good branding. Who knows? I mean, it's they could have watched Fox last season too, right? I mean, they could have watched. How about they watch themselves from last season and improve off of that? I don't know. I mean,
so Brandon, one of the things that did get brought up this week is the rumor that Jeff Gordon could be potentially looking at moving out of the Fox booth, going to Hendrick as some sort of a competition director or something along those lines. I guess it's a 2-part question. First, it seems like Jeff Gordon helping out Hendrick at some point was always inevitable. And if that is the case, what do we think his replacement in the booth? Is it somebody else with Boyer, or is it a complete shakeup of the booth?
I don't think he does. because I've never seen Gordon this happy before, and everybody knows I don't like Gordon, but he's having a lot of fun in the booth. And like, what do you do? Like, what do you do for Fox, Jeff? Okay, you call into Race Hub one day of the week. Okay, then you're at the track Sunday. You can still do your Hendrick Motorsport stuff. It's not like Fox has you, on a chain in a basement, being like, oh, you have to be at the Fox Sports studios the entire week. Like, I don't see Jeff leaving Fox. If he did, it's probably just Adam Alexander probably moving up quicker, or Joy retires as well. They just bump up Alexander to the booth because that's what it's positioned for anyway. That just kind of or it moves that up, or maybe Larry Mack comes back into the main group, or we get more Michael Waltrip. So it's all.
Here's the obvious question to me is, why, if you're Hendrick Motorsports, don't fucking change a thing. I mean, there's no way Gordon is going to help you. Like, I mean, don't change nothing. You have the best cars. You're fucking in a great spot right now. Like, don't change nothing. Keep everything exactly like it is. I mean, don't bring it.
That was almost like the way that I read the report. Was like, it's like Jeff Gordon's like mulling his future with Hendrick. It's like Hendrick might be like, we're good. Like, yeah, like Jeff Gordon has always done what, but like you said, like, don't fix what's not broken. Like, you've run top four.
He's not like an engineer that's going to come in and make these fucking cars run better, is he? Like, I don't know what's he going to do. Like, driver development. Like, I don't know what he's going to add to Hendrick Motorsports besides being a face. But sure, if he went, I mean, he already owns some portion of it, right? He owns some portion of Larson's car, right? Because isn't it the 48? Or is that not still a deal anymore?
So I know he still co-owns a car. I don't know what it is now. So
it's got to be Larson's car, right? Because he would co-own Johnson's, the 48 car, and that's what Larson's car is now, right? Is that the 48 car? But I don't know if that's really the case now.
So Jason kind of briefly brought it up, but so Brandon, I guess the question for you and Jason, you can answer it too. In terms of Chad Knaus being I guess his title is the competition director. I think that's what his title is with Hendrick. What does that entail? Does that mean he has basically final say over the cars on how they're set up and all of that, or is he more of a guider, or is he more of like a project manager? Like, how do you describe that?
I have no idea. I'd probably say project manager, but I have no clue.
So I would say he's probably not. I don't think he's down there. Like, I would not guess like he's down there doing too much with the teams. He's probably.
So it sounds like the crew chiefs are kind of coming up with their own plans, being like, this is what we're going to do. You call it in to have the conversation with Knaus, be like, hey, does this sound like about, right? And then kind of you're letting them do their things and making sure nothing, we're not leaving any parts on the car we shouldn't be leaving, right?
Yeah,
that's clearly that's how they start the
facilitating conversation. Probably he's probably not doing as much as you think. I know he's probably
I don't think he's probably. That's why I said project. That's why I said project director, because I'm sure he's like, hey, you guys do this. He tells people what to do, but he doesn't. He's not like in there with the development of stuff.
All right. Anything else before we wrap this up?
We've had kind of like a sad day in the Hamlet household today.
What was that?
Whiskers, our gerbil, is not doing so well.
Oh.
Yeah. He started the day, right? So I get home from dropping my boy off at school. My wife is on the couch crying. I'm like, what is wrong? And she's holding this gerbil in her hand, and I'm like, is he dead? She's like, no, but there's something wrong with him. She's like, he's got blood coming out of his eyes. And I'm like, sorry, I mean to laugh. I'm like,
what?
Yeah. But it turns out it's not blood. It's something else that has. When she Googled it, it's like some kind of reaction. He's old. Like we don't know how old he is, right? I've had him for 3 years, and somebody gave him to us, so who knows how the fuck old he is, right? He's just a little gerbil. But anyway, like, she's distraught over this gerbil, and like I think I became the bad guy because I'm like, she mentioned like, should we take it to the vet? And I'm like, I'm fucking taking a gerbil to the vet. Like, who takes a gerbil to the vet? Am I crazy?
I've never had a gerbil, so I can't speak.
You got a lot of money, man.
Yeah. If you win the DraftKings contest this week, maybe.
You guys would take a gerbil to the.
See, I don't. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Well, like, no, I just don't know.
I'm being treated like I'm wrong, because here's the thing, right? So this is what made it all worse, right? And so this thing is like in terrible shape. Like it's probably like I'm thinking it's gonna die like
Uh-huh.
very soon.
It's over.
Right?
Like you gotta old yellow it, man.
So yeah, we got it. Made it comfortable in the blanket, put it back in his cage, and then this fucking thing lives until my son gets home now. So and he's still in the same like just laid in there, still doesn't move, but he's still breathing. I'm like shit. Now he's home, and he starts some of the same stuff. Can we take the gerbil to the vet? And I'm like, no, vets don't see gerbils.
I would say I don't know, like, because I know like people like I've never like a pet gerbil or even like
I'm
are
sure
they treated? Are they
can.
treated the same as, like, a
I mean,
rabbit or,
veterinarians,
like
like you could be trained in small animals. That's why I just said it's expensive. It's like when we call out horses to our thing, like you call the vet out. It's a farm visit or whatever they call it, and I mean it's expensive. So I can't imagine what it would cost. I'm sure they'd see the gerbil, but they'd cost you an arm and a leg to check out the little dude.
There's a question of whether like it's possible to take the gerbil to the vet. It's just I mean, I see a gerbil like a gerbil to me is like a goldfish.
Yeah,
Jason's got the mentality of like a car driver. Like he's like, you know what? It's total.
Oh.
Like we can get a new one for cheaper.
It's my dog. It's my dog.
He's
Like yeah,
an
I'm taking
insurance
him,
claim.
right?
It's total.
That's what I was gonna ask. Is like I don't know if like a gerbil is a gerbil like in the comparison. Like obviously I know it's not like a dog or a cat, but like a bunny or like a guinea pig. Like are those even more like you know what I mean? Like you see people have these kind of pets, and they always like I don't know like if you have a bunny like. Does you take to the vet or is it just sick? Like I don't know. I've never had a bunny as a pet, like or a gerbil.
I
or
don't know, like at what size, at what size the rodent becomes the type of rodent you would take to the vet. But I'm pretty confident it's not a gerbil. Like I don't know, like maybe
a gerbil is not an S tier pet.
I mean, is a gerbil not like an oversized, slightly cuter rat?
What are you talking about?
Like, isn't that like how would you describe if an alien came down to Earth and said, "Describe to me a gerbil"? How would you describe a gerbil?
A gerbil is a mouse without a tail. It's a mouse size.
Okay, that's what I said. A slightly cuter rat.
I think it's
that's a mouse.
It's rat is huge. Like
it's
gerbil's
closer
like
to a guinea pig than it is a rat.
it's closer to a.
That's what I'm
it's
saying.
a
I don't even know.
It's
I don't even know what a
they're
guinea pig
small.
looks like.
They're small. Like they're one of the smallest rodents. So like literally we have a mouse in a cage that has no tail. Like it's a fucking mouse. So knowing that's a mouse and
like
it's not
ran
like
around,
it's
would you
not
be
a
able to catch
guinea
him?
pig, huh?
If he got out of the cage and like could run around, would you be able to catch him, or is he gone?
We catch it. We've caught him. He doesn't get out. Like he'll like every now and then my son would have held him, but this thing like literally since we've had it sits in the cage,
It's a
and
tiny
like
thing.
he's a great pet because he doesn't really like take anything. Like we feed him and then like you put him you put toilet paper rolls in there. He chews those up and makes bedding out of it. Like he takes care of himself, but what's making everything worse is this fucking thing is still alive. So like
Damn it, just died. So when you started the story, I didn't know if you were like pulling my leg or like it sounded like a joke, and I don't know, like you.
So is
took
a
me-
gerbil a hamster?
no, yeah,
It's
kind of
smaller,
like
it's smaller than a hamster.
it's
Smaller than a hamster?
Think of a black mouse running across your floor and you go eek. Now take the tail off. It's a gerbil. Like that's how I see
Take
it.
the tail off, put him in a cage, and he's a gerbil.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You started this, and then you talking about blood coming out of his eyes. I was like, "What?
No,
you're like
the blood
describing like the
happened-
chainsaw scene from Scarface
No,
happening. in your
she
house
had
with
thought it
gerbil.
was blood, but it turned out it's like some sign of some sickness or something. I don't know. My wife Googled it. She said it's not blood. I'm like, yeah, I didn't think
They
it's
are
gonna
kinda
be bleeding
cute.
out of his eyes. But so yeah, this thing's still alive, and I'm sitting here like shit. Like, why is he still alive in the morning? Like, I'm gonna get guilted into taking this fucking gerbil to the vet.
Can't do
like,
that.
if
You
He's
gotta
gonna
take
have
the
to take.
stand.
Jason's gonna have to take a couple weeks off of DraftKings because he's got to take the gerbil to the vet. He's got to pay for the gerbil at the vet.
Then what do I do? Like, how long do I let this gerbil sit here in the cage, laying down, not moving? Like,
Jason, you go to the vet, you hand him $20, and you say, write something that says that there's nothing I can do. He's not going to get better, and that's how you handle that situation.
consider the Dwight Schrute approach and putting him in the freezer for a few hours, and then putting him back in the cage.
I'll tell you what, we as a podcast never, ever manage to fail. Ever. We always manage to entertain. There's always something to talk about. There's always, between the three of us, Jason, his gerbils, breaking legs. Brandon and I always got our stories of, Brandon, when we get cars that crash and guys almost get set on fire and hit because they're getting out of their car at high speeds. Brandon's always got a take on that. We've always got these stories. I love it. It's a great way to finish the podcast. Brandon, any gerbil stories from you before we finish? Or hamster or guinea pigs?
I've lost a lot of guinea pigs and rabbits due to tumors, but that's about it. I've had to put down my horse. Let's see. Buried a lot of animals in the yard because we live in the middle of nowhere in Texas, so we have our own little pet cemetery.
I'll say this
at my mom's place, not in this apartment complex that I'm in right now.
I should have
in the courtyard.
Did what my
goats?
parents.
Yeah, I've lost my goat. All my childhood big animals like horses, goats, they've all died. I've been through the song and dance a ton of times.
And that's the hardest part is seeing him, because obviously when he came in,
yeah.
I told him when he pulled up and the van opened, I'm like, hey buddy, because I looked at him, I'm like, did you tell him? Yeah. She's like, no, I didn't tell him. You gotta tell him.
Of course I didn't tell him. That's your job.
Yeah, that's my job. She made sure, she's like, you're gonna be home from work when he gets home, right? I'm like, yes, I will be there. I'm like, buddy, we got something to talk about. It's not good. He's like, what's wrong? I'm like, it's not good. Come in the house. Like, Whiskers ain't doing too good. It's immediately broke down. Is he dead? I'm like, well, he ain't dead yet. I don't know why it's making me
I haven't put him in the freezer yet, but.
So obviously that's tough seeing him crying, but yeah,
does he like if you
I should have
like
well, no, really I should have been like my parents, right? And my parents when one of my rodents or something like that would have died, like they would have got a new one in there before I got fucking home, and I would never known, like
does he like when he gets home, does he go and like look at him like if you didn't say anything he would have known?
He would not have said, look, no, he wouldn't have known. No, he doesn't go to this damn thing. He just sits there like he's like a goldfish, dude. I'm telling you, like he's a goldfish.
Your kid's a senior in high school. He's like, yeah, my gerbil's he's 18 years old. He's just chilling.
It's fucking freaking nature.
So when we had to put the horse down, it was this horse was old. Like I can't remember exactly how old, but like well over life expectancy. Like having arthritis in its poor legs, it was not having a good time. And so the animal's like 1,500 pounds, and so you have like two options really. You could rent like a backhoe or an excavator and bury it, right? Or you can get somebody to haul it off, once you put it down. But the way our driveway was, we basically had to put the horse down like in the front yard in front of the neighbors, not like in the street. But enough to where like, hey, there's a dead horse in the front yard waiting for somebody to come pick the body up. And so
only in Texas.
So when we put the horse down, I moved all the vehicles in front of the body of that just so nobody could see like the gigantic corpse of this horse that we had to put down.
That's what they do. That's what they do on a racetrack. They like put like the ambulances around.
Oh
the horse,
yeah, it was like
down,
Ryan
so
Newman's wreck. Yeah, I'm bringing up
Get the tarp
tarps.
out.
Yeah, I'm covering them. Yeah.
You know what option 3 would have been, Brandon?
What is that?
Eat it.
That's you don't want to eat a horse that has, and I'm going down this road. Obviously, you can't eat a family horse. No, this horse has arthritis. That meat is not good. It's not going to taste
20 years
well.
old, probably just freaking gamey as can be.
Yeah. And then,
all right, well,
yeah.
So any other?
But if you soak it in like buttermilk or something like that, it's supposed to get rid of that and make it a little bit more tender. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna try horse one day. I've had bison and stuff. My family gets mad when I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna try horse.
I don't know why you wouldn't. Like, why is horse like off limits? Like, if you hunted a horse, like, is that okay? Like, because places where they're like out of control and they need population control and they're liable to hunt, people do hunt them for meat. So like, that seems pretty ethical. Like,
oh yeah, I mean, I would try every type of meat there is. White rhino. A gator.
Just bring me a platter of everything.
Yeah, just everything. I gotta try everything in life.
Yeah, there's not much that like I wouldn't try. Like yeah, I've ate like any type of meat. Like you said, it's you want to see what that shit tastes like.
I think the only
I watch Naked and Afraid and get jealous sometimes. Like shit, they're eating what is that? A nutrient. Look, a nutria. Like look how fucking huge that. It looks like a roasted ham, but it's a big rat.
I feel like if you're gonna eat
have you tried
like
rattlesnake?
beef,
Sorry.
No,
Ryan.
you're good. I was just, I feel like if you're gonna eat beef or whatever, it's like there's very few like meats like I feel like as like a domesticated animal I wouldn't eat, like a dog or a cat, like something like that. But like if you eat beef, like what's the difference between beef and like horse and like venison? Like well, there's no like snake,
What's the
even
difference
snake.
between a horse and a deer? I mean, a deer is
Yeah.
a mini horse.
Yeah, like moose. I'm sure you know.
Like I understand that there are people out there that are just not on that side and like, hey, I don't eat meat and that's whatever. But it's like if you're gonna eat some meat, you might as well eat it all. Might as well taste it all.
Okay, here's a good one because this podcast needs to be longer. would you ever? Never mind. I was gonna ask the good old would you eat another human meat at some point in your life to say you did it?
No.
No?
I don't think so. No, definitely not. I wouldn't do that. I don't even think I could do like a primate or a monkey. Right
I
now.
mean, if there's like $10 million on the other side of it, or if there's like something where it's like, I wouldn't just do it to be like, yeah, I ate a human once. I mean, you wouldn't.
If you paid you enough,
That's what
you'd be a cannibal, is what he's saying.
Yeah, I'm not
I'm
saying,
saying-
I'm not saying you go out and kill someone and become a cannibal, but I'm being like, somebody's offering like, hey, eat my
for $10 million, yes. That would be my, if you paid me enough, that would be my number, $10 million.
Yeah, and I'm at like
That makes you
2,300.
wonder, like, what wouldn't he do for $10 million at this point?
Uh-huh.
Probably not much. $10 million.
I don't know.
$10 million is probably $10 million more dollars than I'm gonna make in my lifetime combined.
Yeah, but you can live pretty comfortably for a lot less than $10 million without having to eat a human.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like, as gross it would be, is like with $10 million, I can just go live on some island somewhere and no one's gonna ever know.
Yeah, just go
You wouldn't know.
repent, do whatever you gotta do.
I'm sure it'll be long enough in the future where there's surgeries where you can like pay enough money to like have like a thought completely removed from your brain and be like, you ate a human once? Like, nope. Like, I won't even be lying. just won't even remember it. Like, nope. Must have been a different kind.
Both have a deer meat, right?
Yeah.
I've never like been into like hunting or doing whatever, but I've always like people who do or people I've never like said no to like I've had snake before. Like I've never said no to like a meat put in front of me.
Have you ever filleted a fish?
Yeah.
But I've seen somebody do it with like scaling it and like doing all that shit. Like I wouldn't even know like how to do that.
Have you
You need to learn. Like, have you ever?
But you say you need to learn. Do I need to learn?
Yeah, but it's very important. Like, have you ever? So you've never harvested like any kind of an animal, like a fish, or nothing, like
harvested like how? Like
an animal? Yeah. To what?
or
To eat.
not
To
even like
eat.
shooting,
No.
like have you ever fished and then ate that? Like I've gone
No.
crab fishing, so I can technically say yeah, I've harvested crabs.
Right.
Because I've killed them and eat them. Yeah.
No, the closest I've been is when we're in the South and we go to one of those fish markets where they've just been killed and say, I'll take that one and I'll take that one and I'll take that one. That's the closest I've
Your
been.
hands are clean. What about like
Yeah.
red lobster? You point at that lobster, but you never see it. You're
Right.
just like, yeah, I want
Right,
that
like
one.
right, like you go to like Kroger, like Harris Teeter, and look in the lobster tub, be like, yep, I'll take number 3 and number 7. Yep, just call.
But
these.
I'm being serious though, Ryan. There is some connection that you have with that food when it's something that you went out, you found, you located, you figured out how to catch it, get it, brought it home, you butchered it, filleted it, did what you had to do, and then prepared it and cooked it and put it on the table. Like there is like it's one of the most rewarding things you could possibly do. Like it's built into our DNA to do that. Like that is like as
and
far
being
back
from
as,
Maryland, like crabbing at some point will be probably what it ends up
you
doing.
should.
But even like here, so obviously not like the catching part, but like we've done where it's like you get like, and I know it's not the same as like a lobster, but it's like basically like getting like these live crabs, like you need to prepare them like in a way where it's like you need to take off the certain parts that you're not supposed to eat. So it is like in terms of like preparing in a live animal. I guess I've done that, but not actually the physical of like going out and like catching it. And
yeah, there's something
so
when you know like where that food came from, and you know like the story behind. There's a story behind that food that you are eating. Like when I catch like some bluegill with my son, and we come back and we flay them and fry them up that night. But first off, it's delicious. There's nothing better than eating something fresh. And then second off, like it's just you have the stories from that day about the fish you just caught that now you're sitting there eating. You know, I mean, it's just.
I could be wrong, but I do think when I was younger, so my family and I would go to Hilton Head every year. I think when I was younger, we did go on a boat trip once with like a guy who did that, and we went out and we caught, I don't know if it was like clams or like some sort of seafood that wasn't a fish, and like caught it, and then we went back to I think like a campsite where like he like prepared it, but like we watched him like do all that. I think when I was a kid we did do something like that, but never like actually like fishing and catching a fish or like something like that. And those are more like throw a net out and catch a bunch of them at once or something like that.
And this goes to like to everybody out there. Like, don't think like, oh, I've never done that. I'm too old. Like, I didn't even start hunting until I was 30 years old. Like, I knew nothing about hunting deer and nothing. And I was able to pick up bow hunting, teach myself how to do it, teach myself how to hunt, how to locate deer, and butcher the animal. Just YouTube. Like, I literally YouTube videoed the first time I got a deer. First time I shot a deer, I got out in the field by myself, pulled up on YouTube how to gut a deer, and followed along in the field as I dressed that animal. So I mean, like, for anybody out there who's looking or inspired by like anything I said, like, it's not too late to get out there and just get detached from these phones and this electrical world that we're in, and get out and get into the real world where we belong.
All right, well, there's no real way for me to segue from that to.
I was gonna say, like, I've never. I don't think I could skin a deer. Like, I'm not into like hunting. Like, I understand why. Like, that's just not me. Like, I'd rather get fish and stuff. Yeah, I'm not.
I can't see my.
I'm certainly not by myself. I think if I was with other people, I'd join in. But being by myself, wanting to go out and like spend a Saturday morning doing that, that's not me.
That was me at your age too. Like, at your age, I had only fished my whole life, and it wasn't until really what happened is like I had my son, and I started thinking about, like, when you have kids, it's like you start thinking about, like, what kind of things can I pass down to him, and what kind of things do I want to make important to him. Yeah. So like, obviously I knew I wanted to make like the outdoors a big part of his life, because I wanted him to have that escape from the world he's going to be raised in with all the technology and all the constant communication. I want him to be able to have that escape. So then I started looking, well, also fishing. Like, I wanted to teach myself how to hunt, so then I can pass that on to him. So that's kind of like where my ambition came from. So who knows? You may want to in a few years.
Yeah, I gotcha. We'll see.
All right, I'm talking 15 minutes into a podcast where we talked nothing about DFS. I don't think so.
Well, then good. We can finish off with a little DFS talk, because you can tell everybody, Jason, where they can find all of your DFS information.
Yeah, I should have some stuff out for the Xfinity Truck Series this week. www.freenascardfs.com. You can check me out on Twitter at DFSNASCAR. Don't forget to check out our Discord, the freemium Discord that Ryan over there runs. I run the NASCAR channel in there. A lot of guys in there, a lot of fun. You can find me hanging out there to answer questions, but also you can reach out to me on Twitter. I try to pretty much answer every question. And thanks for listening, and thanks for following along.
Brandon, where can they find your stuff at?
Yeah, find my stuff, Brandon Cruz DFS, Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, and thanks for chilling with us. Hopefully you guys like this. Yet again, if you're still here, tell us how you like listen to this type of stuff, because we'll BS around some more versus just talking boring old NASCAR.
Yeah, like I said, we're always open for suggestions, and if there's certain things you guys like, don't like, whatever, we can always kind of guide this towards you guys and how you like it.
Give me the picks.
I mean, that's how some people are. They go to the article and they don't even read the article. They just find the core. They find something and like, that's all I want. But yeah, you guys can follow me as well. betwithbommel.com. Gambling DFS tips on Twitter. Last week, another winning week with our bets. 9 weeks out of the last 10 have been winning weeks. So, although even I keep saying like I'm not having a great DFS year because we haven't won that big one. Jason, I know we're in that one league together with a bunch of different NASCAR kind of guys. I think there's like 70 or 80 people in it. Jason and I are both like right in the top 15, something like that. So we're actually having decent years. I know I complain about that all the time. But betting is one of those things where you can definitely, help a NASCAR week that maybe should have been a lot better, not as good. But I've been talking with Jason a little bit and might even kind of switch around the strategy a little bit of some of these articles, maybe give a couple quick picks and also give, more in-depth. So if you guys maybe just want to put 1 or 2, 3 bets down a couple a week and just kind of have that kind of action, I'm going to do that as well, kind of put a little spot in the article for that. And then the guys that, want to put a full 15, 20 bets down on a full race and do that, I'll offer that as well. Obviously always free. That's my stuff, how I do it. Jason said it before, but thank you guys for listening. Wherever you're listening, rate, review, subscribe, like, comment, all of that. It all helps. We listen to everything. Next week we are back Nashville Super Speedway, which is most certainly not a super speedway, but it's called Nashville Super Speedway. So we are back there next week for a more normal kind of race. So as always, on behalf of Jason and Brandon, I am Ryan. Thank you guys for listening, and hopefully somebody gets rich this week on this weird race for the All-Star.